Hey, what's going on, Modern Brain students? Welcome to a lesson on stocks. Today we're going to do chapter one, what are stocks? We're going to really take it down and talk in layman terms. I don't consider myself a professional, but what I know, I would like to present it to you so you can learn a little bit as to what are stocks. You hear people mentioning stocks and people making money out of this, and some people are scared to even try to make money. But today you're going to learn in our first lesson. This is going to be a very extremely basic lesson, which is going to be part of a long series. And today's chapter, we're going to start with What Are Stocks by J.C. Sixtos. What are stocks? So think of stocks as a seed of corn. Okay, so if you think of a stock as a seed, okay, we have a few elements to work with. We have a field, a seed of corn, and the final product, corn. Look at the field as the stock market. You've heard this before. The stock market is basically a place where people invest and then they take their money out. It's basically all they do there. They put money in and they put money out. That is the stock market. If you can use it metaphorically as a field, as you can see right here, that's going to help you understand what stocks are. So look at the seed of corn as the stock. So this represents the stock, basically what you are planting in the field, okay? And the corn, the actual product, would be, look at it as the end product of the company. So you're looking at either if the corn came out in the late fall, maybe it came out bad, so maybe it's not profit, it's loss. Okay, so that's the end product. In this case, we're seeing a bunch of money because, that's what the product is. If you know how to plant corn and you get a good season, a good harvest, then you're going to have good profits. So I hope this analogy helps you in putting stocks into a more visual perspective. So let's continue working with the analogy of the field, the seed of corn, and the product of corn. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm interrupting this video real quick to remind you to subscribe to Modern Brain. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give it a like. If you probably hear a lot of people saying, give me a like on my video, it's because when you hit a like on a video, you're giving YouTube search an algorithm that'll make your video appear on everybody's recommended page. So if you don't mind hitting that like button and continue to watch these videos as they're powerful, and I will go ahead and allow you to continue back on this video. Thanks for watching, guys. If we keep using the analogy of the seed of corn, let's think of a farmer. The farmer is you or anyone who participates in the stock transaction, or in the layman terms, anyone who gets into the stocks. The way they used to do it was that people in the New York Stock Exchange, which uses the abbreviations, that's one of the biggest, I believe that's the biggest stock exchanges that ever exist. Chicago has its own as well. But if you were to go to the New York Stock Exchange, you would hear a whole bunch of people screaming, and a lot of people wouldn't even know what all that is. So basically, these people are basically investing as the market goes up and down. When the market goes up, then some people are selling their stock and some people are buying stock. So when you hear them screaming, that's because they're doing transactions in the stock. Now, a lot of this has changed because all of the stocks are now becoming more digital. There is a brokerage company that acts as the middleman that would help you do transactions with stock. And we'll learn more about that as we proceed with the later chapters. But in order for you to make transactions in the stock market, you need a broker, okay? So these people that you see here doing transactions, they need the stock exchange to do the transactions for them. In a digital world where you and I can invest in stocks, we don't go to the New York Stock Exchange, but we do have different brokers that get us there digitally. One of the most common ones is Robinhood. Okay, that's called basically a broker. They make money, they make commissions, but it's one of the best ones that I recommend because they don't take commissions from you. Okay, so other companies like Charles Schwab or E-Trade, some of these companies might charge you a commission fee. Okay, so if you get into the stock market, you will need to find a broker. In this case, I recommend Robinhood, and that is the almost the equivalence of you going to the New York Stock Exchange and getting into the stocks. Okay, so in this case, we're using the analogy of the farm and the farmer. The farmer is you. You are wanting to plant a seed. Okay, so as everybody knows, when you're involved in stocks, you can either make money or lose money. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money. So it's very risky. Risky. So we are the farmers. It is us who want to find a good land to plant our seed of corn so it can grow, and later as the company prospers, we also prosper with it. So let's pretend that there's a great field, right? And this field belongs to Apple. We all know that Apple is a very, very wealthy company. It's actually the wealthiest company as far as stocks wise, the richest company out there. Now, what Apple does is once they go public, they're basically telling the world, I will allow everybody to come in and give me some money. And when I prosper, I will also give you some of the profits that I make because you made it prosper. You were part of the person that made it grow. So at what Apple does is they give you a little piece of land, if you will. They give you land and they tell you, here we go. Now you're part of us. Pitch in your money. Now, they want you to profit because it's obviously you're investing in their company. But that's the thing, that as a stock trader, you run the risk of losing money. So that would be the equivalent of you renting or having that piece of land and not knowing how to do something. So you start planting that corn, and that corn ends up not being what you expected, and you actually lose money. So you invest in the seed, you invest in watering the corn, you invest in, getting the fertilizers and everything. So you add, you spent some money, but then at the end of the day, since you don't know how to do stocks, the corn doesn't come out as profitable as you wanted it. So who loses here? We have two parties that lose. It's Apple, because they're losing money, and at the same time you're losing money. Okay, so I hope this analogy actually helps you understand what stocks are. In order to understand stocks, you will need to understand how a business works. A business is an entity that trades services or goods for money. You can think of any business right now: McDonald's, Walmart, Geico, State Farm, or even your Uber drivers considered a business. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of logos here. You know what a business is. Since the beginning of time, humans have been trading goods and services for a type of currency. For example, our ancestors used to trade fur and grains of bread, etc. Anything that one person sees as a value can be considered as currency. Okay, so currency in today's United States is called the dollar, the coins. Okay, that's our currency. We trade that for goods and services. You go to work, you trade your time to go to work for money, and your company is willing to give you that money to take your time. So it's a trade-off, basically. That is what a business transaction is. And back in the days, people used to trade, animals, farm animals, eggs, pigs, and they would trade. They didn't have necessarily in all occasions. They didn't have a currency like coins, even though it did exist. But people in poorer cultures or civilizations, they used goods to trade off, and they would have to find somebody who needed a fur, and then they would be like, okay, since you have a gun, I will trade you my fur for your gun, and that would be considered a business transaction. Okay, so In either of those cases, in both of those cases, the fur and the gun basically were the currency of that time. Okay, so now if we look at in today's world, in our Western society, we sell goods and services for the trade of money as our currency. In the United States, our money is the currency. It's the American dollar. We use this to trade our goods and services. You trade your time and effort with your company, so they pay you with money. In America, the way we govern business is through an economic system called capitalism. Capitalism is the opposite of socialism. Capitalism is the belief that anyone can create a business with limited rules and regulations from the government. Socialism believes in a type of government that controls 100% of the businesses. So thank God, and God bless those who have died for this country, who have allowed us to be able to have businesses and be able to have do contracts with other people so we can become rich. We live in a country that allows us to be wealthy and to find the means of getting a lot of money. So God bless America for that. The economic freedom allows its citizens to create businesses with partial government control. And what is that partial government control? We have regulations, we have taxes, we have different brackets in the taxation system where if you own a business, you have to pay a certain amount of, taxes. You have, if you own a business, people who own a business would know that you have to pay the government different fees, etc., workers' comp, unemployment, and things like that. So obviously, it's not, free where you can do whatever you want. No, it's regulated, but in a way where you can prosper and actually have a business and profit. Okay, it promotes competition. So this capitalism promotes competition and the ability for anyone to create a business and make great wealth for themselves. Once you create a company, the liability of that company does not fall on the individual, rather it falls on the corporation. So obviously we're getting a little deep in here. Obviously we're talking about the LLC, okay, limited company or limited liability company. And a lot of these companies, if something were to happen where it would go bankrupt, it would not affect the owner or the CEO of the company, because it becomes basically, the business becomes the body, the corporation. The word for corporation means body. Okay, so you have to understand that once there's a company, the liability basically falls on the company. So if it were to go bankrupt, the people that own the company would basically just finish off and suffer less than if they would be liable for all the costs and all the liabilities. I hope that makes sense. This is why America has been so successful compared to other countries, because in other countries, for example, the big red China, they used to not be capitalists, and they're actually not capitalists. They're socialists. They're communists. So they operate in different ways. But until China opened its doors for the commerce to come to their country, they've made so much money that they've actually become the richest country in the world as far as trading. Even though they're socialists, even though they're communist, because they've allowed business transactions to happen in their country, they become so rich, and this is what makes a country rich. A company is built off executives and administrators, but you would be surprised that most of the corporations owned today are actually owned by shareholders. These shareholders are investors that have believed that the company they hold, these shareholders are investors that have believed that the company they hold stocks on will profit in the future. So obviously an investor is going to look at a company and look at its future and say, okay, I want to invest in this company because this company is going to make a lot of money. Okay, once these shareholders invest, then they will prosper with the company or become broke with the company. So there is an opportunity that once the company is going down in profit, that you can pull out, but obviously you will end losing a lot of money. We see a lot of examples where people who could have invested in different companies would have made a lot of money. For example, I've heard that in the company for Apple, someone who was asked to become a shareholder when Apple was almost nothing. They declined the offer, and they would have been a billionaire by now. But since they had declined at that time to invest in the company, then or become part of the company, then they did not, prosper from it. And a lot of investors make mistakes, just like you and I would, even if you become the most successful investor in the world, but you will always make mistakes. I think that the trick is to be able to make more money than what you lose, because you will always lose money. Okay, so an investor is basically anyone who comes to a company and says, "You look like a company that has potential of becoming profitable, so I would like to give you my money so you can use it for your company and give me a share of stocks." This investor, in part, becomes owner to some extent of the company. Okay, it would only be fair if somebody says, "Hey, I don't want to deal with all the invoicing and I don't want to do the taxes for you, but you know what? I'm willing to give you capital." And that's what money is, money to spend for the company. That's what capital is. Okay, so an investor, once they do that, once they give money to the company, they become part of the company, so they become a shareholder. Okay, I'm going to give you another example of, if you've watched the show Shark Tank, the CEO, the inventor of the Ring, the device that when you ring a bell, that it's very popular. Well, back then, this guy actually went to Shark Tank and presented his idea, and no one wanted to invest in him, including Mark Cuban. Nobody wanted to invest. Had they invested in this guy's idea, they would have made a lot of money. So that was an example of not a good decision when it comes to investing. But obviously, for the CEO of Ring, he's making billions right now. So this ownership gives the investor the right to profit when the company profits, but it also risks the investor to lose the money it invests. So it's an investor. It's someone who knows risk. All right, that is it for today. And we're going to come up with lesson number 2. And I hope you've learned what stocks are. Please leave your comments below. And I hope you learned today in Modern Brain. Thank you and have a great day.